I am very excited today to be joined by my good friend Tyler James from Comixlaunch. And we I love talking with him because he knows more about Kickstarter than me, and there's very few people that I can say that about. How you doing,
Oh,
Tyler?
I'm doing all right, man. And we've both I think we've been practitioners of this thing for a long time now. And so bouncing ideas off one another can be is probably some of the best conversations that I've had when it comes to anything related to whether it be Kickstarter or publishing or being in this online world, building audiences, building followings. I always
Absolutely.
enjoy talking to you, man, and appreciate the breadth and scope and depth of the work that you put out, and your vulnerability, your ability to keep it real, keep it 100, as the youngins would have said maybe 10 years ago. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's already
I mean, we can spend the next hour. Please just flood me with. I'll take them all. But I want to. I wanted to come in because we both have like a Kickstarter going right now for different nonfiction projects. Mine is How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia, and yours is a workbook that puts together a lot of your methodology about Kickstarter. Right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about it before we get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you giving me the chance to share it with your audience and your following. Um, as some people may know, or you may not, for the last 10 years, coming up, the anniversary is this year. I've been doing a podcast called Comixlaunch, which is from the very beginning. I sort of set out to create the number one comic book crowdfunding podcast about Kickstarter on the planet. And the reason I could say with confidence that we were able to do that was because there was no other seriously focused crowdfunding podcast specifically for comic book creators, focused primarily on Kickstarter. So they said the riches were in the niches and to niche down, and I did that. And but yeah, I've been doing Comixlaunch since 2015, and over the years, in addition to just doing the weekly podcast, I've built courses. I've done sort of one-on-one coaching and group coaching, and run masterminds with creators that are, were really serious about getting their work out into the world, and thought that crowdfunding might be a way to do that and have big impact and make it sustainable. And I for a long time, people have been asking about, well, is there a book? Are you doing a book? And I just, for one reason or another, that wasn't on my agenda. But this over the past couple of months, I sort of took a term off of doing a mastermind group that I'd been leading for a while, which sort of opened up some extra time and mental space for me. And with the anniversary of Comixlaunch coming up, I'm like, it's about time that I do this book. If for no one else, to do it for me, because even though I've done nearly 40 crowdfunding campaigns that I myself have run, and managed, and all of that, I still find myself every single campaign printing out these daily journal pages that I've come up with, and printing out the same checklists, and forcing myself to go through the same planning processes, some simple processes at the beginning of every launch, and then trying to force myself and remind myself to do the debriefs at the end of each launch, so that I'm continuing to learn from every time I do this. I've sort of said it ad nauseum on the show. Every time you launch, I can't guarantee what your results will be, but I guarantee if you take that mental approach to it, you will learn something from that launch. And so, but uh, and I don't know if you're feeling it. I've got more gray in my beard than you do at this point, but uh, capturing those launch lessons, I feel like there are some days where I feel like I've forgotten more about Kickstarter than than I currently know, because putting out all this content and putting all this stuff. And so finding good ways to capture the learnings from each launch so that you can incrementally get better with each and every one of them has been important to me. And you know, I've been a planner junkie over the years. You know, I've got some planners on my shelf that I'm like, oh, there's $250,000 worth of ideas and that were jotted down in that book. It might have taken a couple of years before they actually became real, but I just love the ability to go from scratches on a paper to a fully realized campaign, and the idea of finally taking together what I've learned with my own launches, with coaching, I think 450, 500 creators inside the Comixlaunch Pro program over the years, and just packaging it all into something that would be really useful for creators to organize their thoughts and do the best that they possibly can with their upcoming launches.
Are you smarter than me? Did you do a short link so that people can get to it easily on here?
It's Comixlaunch, COMIX launch.com/planner. This is my first Substack live, so I feel like I'm just happy we were able to get on here. But yeah, if anybody's watching live and are able to pump that into the chat, that would be awesome. If there is a chat, is there a chat? I don't even know.
I think that, yeah, there is one at the bottom, but I think that it's so a lot of it's hard because almost Substack is almost like the opposite of Kickstarter, right? It's like not launching and like just slowly building, and like you were always on, and like you put out little drips of content, and like there really is no end goal. Whereas like Kickstarter is the opposite, where it's like you only maximum get 60 days. Like you have to focus all of this attention. So I spend a lot of time doing this, but I'd love for you to talk about like why you need both, or like why if you're focused on Substack or subscriptions, you should like consider or plan more launches. Or
Yeah, so it's a great question. And at least in the comics world, when I first got started with this thing, Kickstarter was kind of like this shiny object that people were like, wow, there's a few people that are making big money over here, but actually most of the projects, I think it was like overall the success rate was like 30%. Most of the projects weren't funding. But occasionally a few would break out and people were really intrigued about the prospect of it. And so I initially took 8 creators and tried to teach 8 creators the approach that I had taken to Kickstarter, and was immediately worried that all of my best crowdfunding tips and strategies and tactics were going to be no good, because none of the initial 8 creators I had that enrolled in the sort of beta version of my Comixlaunch course program, none of them had an email list. None of them understood the power of the email list. And I was like, holy crap, the email, like a lot of my program is, here's what you send to your list at this point, and here's what you like, here's the strategies, and here's how you do that. And what immediately had me fearful that was going to, all of these creators are going to launch projects and they're going to fail miserably, actually turned into an opportunity. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, you don't know how to build an email list? Well, guess what? I didn't either. I think unless you're like Beyonce's kids, you don't, you're not born with an audience, right? Every single person that has had an email list didn't start there. They built it, starting with 1 subscriber, right? And so that became an opportunity to sort of, all right, let's teach, let's add to the Comixlaunch course, let's add to the training. How do you go from, I don't have an email list, to, hey, I've got some people to tell about this launch. And so the fact that, anyone that is already sort of convinced that Substack is a worthwhile endeavor, you're ahead of the game, right? And much farther ahead than a lot of the creators were when they sort of came to me interested in Kickstarter. Now, what I will say though is that audience building and email list building for the sake of email list building will eventually lead to extreme burnout unless you you'll give up because it's too much time and too much effort for not enough return. you're going to give up on that unless you can see tangible results, usually in your bank account, of the effect of having that email list. And the best thing about a platform like Kickstarter is at every single launch, I can just do an easy calculation and say, wow, for this particular launch, every single human being on my email list, you know, divide the amount raised by how many people were on my email list, and I can just say, hey, every person I added to my email list was worth X number of dollars. Uh, then reinforces why it's so important to build that list in the first place, and the value of that list, as opposed to just vanity metrics or to go up to go up. And
Yeah, well, sorry, I
yeah,
was just gonna say, like, when you like, everyone says that this ongoing like subscription is a positive, but like it also is endless. And like the great thing about like a discrete event like Kickstarter is like you can say it my email list was X on this date. I performed Y actions and got Z money. And like then I spent 6 months building my email list again. And I got X people to give Y money for Z project. And you can like use these discrete events, whether I mean, like you can do this on Substack, like a pledge drive kind of thing or
yeah,
something. But like Kickstarter is just like, it's so you can literally just pick every email and be like, this email led to this amount of money, and then this email led to this amount of money. So maybe I should be talking more about this thing as
mhm,
opposed to this like constant need to like feed this beast that is never ending, that like you've now been doing it for a year and maybe you have 50 subscribers, maybe you
right.
only have one paid subscriber, maybe you have zero, and you're like, did I just spend an entire year of my life to do this thing? When you can break it up into these more discrete events, you can say, okay, I did this, I did Y, I did J, whatever this thing is, and like these are the tangible results that came from it. We did have a question, which was, how were there any qualities that those breakout things had across the spectrum? Like, was there anything that you saw that that separated the breakout ones that you've seen from like ones that fizzled?
Are they talking about? Do you know if they're talking about breakout campaigns
Yeah,
versus?
breakout campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, it's alchemy, right? But one of the cool things about the Kickstarter platform is there are certain things that do tend to work better than others, and but and so we see certain creators, like that have recognized that, hey, there's certain genres that do really well. The Cthulhu stuff, both you and I have had a lot of success, doing interesting things with that beloved mythos. Obviously, not safe for work stuff is having a moment right now, but really quality fantasy stuff and nostalgic IP is also so there's a lot of different ways and or different things that are just like, oh, if you're running in these lanes and you're not on Kickstarter, you're probably missing out. But I'll also say, regardless of what it is that you're doing, uh, Kickstarter and a crowdfunding launch has a number of just natural, innate features that, regardless of what it is that you have, it's going to help you maximize what's possible for that thing. And the other thing that I know that you've embraced over the course of your eclectic history as a creator, and creator in a big sense, you've dabbled in just about everything. Kickstarter is very much a Kickstarter and platform versus Kickstarter only. And so the creators that are able to, whether it be a Patreon or a Substack, and having that being like a base where, hey, all right, this, I'm committing to showing up for this audience in this way, but I also know that if I can rally my audience around something else, not only is it going to be an opportunity for them to show up, but it's going to be an opportunity to um, attract people that would never discover you if it was just your Substack posts that were drawing them in, or some things like that. So yeah, the opportunity to really amplify and what's possible is what crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter really do offer.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people say like, okay, these people have huge audiences, so like they make money, and people have no audience and they don't make money. But like, I have seen enough times where someone who has a huge audience like barely makes any money. People that have a little audience make a ton of money,
Mm.
and it's like I think part of it is like how good is the product? How like special is the product? Like, does it resonate with the
Mm.
people? Do you like do a good job audience building, or do you just kind of like have an email list that's dead until you need something from people, and then you like can like push people there? Do you like nurture them throughout the year? But like, I think there's something else to be said for like if you don't want to monetize your Substack,
Mm.
like you can still monetize it through doing campaigns of like turning your blog into a book and like
Yeah, right.
putting your best, like doing your short stories in a book. Like, and what I think people don't really understand is it is so much easier to sell a discrete product than a long-term subscription. Like, you just can't get somebody to give you $20 for question mark as
Right.
easily as saying, look, this is a Disney tarot deck. If I buy this, I know exactly what I'm going to get, and I have it for as long as I don't lose it. Like the same thing with a book, the same thing with these glasses, with this sparkling water, whereas like I'm not going to sign up for a like ephemeral like subscription to like hear about sparkling water, but like I will buy this can of sparkling water because like it is and we spend all of this time saying, well, like how can I get someone to buy this subscription? And in general, like I make the least amount of money from my subscription, even
Mm.
though it's got like if I had over 1,000 people buying a Kickstarter, I would make $40,000, $50,000 every time I launched a Kickstarter instead
Wow.
of like the 20,000 that currently is being pulled in. And like, if you want to know where, so I coach a lot of people and they're always like, why is my success, like, why am I not seeing success? I'm like, well, like, I don't know if you're having success because, like, all I can say is you're not having success converting people into what is ostensibly the hardest thing to do in a creative business, which is get them to pay for a subscription. Like, there are like seven-figure authors who like can't get these people to convert. Whereas like let us test where you are successful. Like let if you run a Kickstarter campaign and you say it's not successful, and like you set up a web store and you say it's not successful, and you put your things on retailers and you say it's not successful, and like you go to conventions and you say it's not successful, then like okay, then I buy that like there's a problem. But like currently all we have associated is your audience as you have built it currently does not want to back to like pay for a subscription, which very few people do.
Exactly. Yeah, I think people don't understand that, and because psychologically we think it's just $1 a month or whatever. What a lot of people don't realize is that when you're saying, like, if you say yes to a subscription, uh, psychologically, especially, it's one thing to be Netflix or to an anonymous, like meat of the month club or whatever it is, but it's like, oh, I like Russell. I am he's a real human being. I'm connected to him. But if I say yes to him, what if something happens down the line, and that means I'm either have to stay there over and over and over again, um, and and there might be a day when I might have to cancel, and then I'm canceling on like, and all of a sudden, like, just like people will project to like, well, I don't ever want to cancel on Russell, so I'm just never going to sign up. Whereas it's like, hey, I've got $20, I'm going to get Russell's latest book, right? In
Right.
Kickstarter, it's a much easier ask. Um, even if it could be, substantially more money, because it's a discrete thing. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why, like, having, um, taking multiple shots in different areas, is so important. Now, there are some people that crush it on memberships, and in a lot of cases, they're doing things that really do lean all the way into what a membership can offer. But but yeah, if you're treating things that could and should be a discrete 30-day Kickstarter launch, but you're trying to incorporate those into a membership model, it may not give you it almost definitely won't get you the results that you're looking for. And then I'll also say, like, different platforms have different things that are that lend themselves to, different strengths and different approaches. The planner that I'm using, I'm this is as a part of the Comixlaunch 10th anniversary. We're sort of really leaning into the comic book crowdfunding version, but I've worked with creators that are in, like, the publishing category, the games category, art books, toys. I've done, a lot of plush toys and
And
things
your
like that.
biggest campaign and your biggest project is a kids book like series.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a publishing kids book series in the publishing category. But there's a reason why comics dominate and are, by far and away, the highest success rate on Kickstarter, and why their projects fund at a much higher level than publishing projects or just about every other projects. And a lot of that is leaning into the visual nature of that the Kickstarter platform allows you to do, being able to, you know, not always like present a really good project, but also present the passion behind that project, and then also setting discrete, attainable goals. Comic book creators, like, we're used to serializing and releasing things like minimum lovable offers, so that we don't need to raise $1 billion and have the audience that can support a project of that size. We can, set attainable goals, hit them, and then earn the right to go after bigger goals. And I think creators in any category that take that approach, will have a lot more success. And so the planner is really built around that, and applies some of those best practices that comic book creators use. But that if that gets applied to any kind of launch, you're going to find your success rate goes up.
Awesome. All right. We do have a couple of questions. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
John asks, he's always been intrigued by Kickstarter. He has a book drop in early June, and he still do a Kickstarter now for his book that drops.
Book drops in early June. I'm curious, how is he planning on doing the drop now? Let's assume the Kickstarter didn't happen. Is that a Amazon drop? Is that a going wide? Because I'm a big believer, and I know you are too, Russell, that um, there's almost never not a reason enough to do a Kickstarter launch. And maybe it's a Kickstarter exclusive launch. Maybe it is, like, maybe you're leaning into, like, or you're not sure what's going to happen, and you might want to lean into one of Kickstarter's open call months. Like, January is Make 100 month. So, like, you could do your June launch of the book, see what happens. Maybe you build a following, maybe you sell a bunch of digital copies. There's no reason you couldn't come back in January and say, "Hey, I'm taking part in Kickstarter's Make 100 month. I'm going to do 100 hardcovers that I'm going to do a short bit of microfiction in the back. You can also, and so that's like your Make 100 reward, but you're also offering, PDFs of it, or high, or even maybe another level that's one above it. Think, like Kickstarter is this dedicated platform. Every time I've been, like I said, 10 years podcasting, launching, I've nearly 40 projects in different categories, launched this comic book crowdfunding planner. And there are people that are names that I don't know that are just discovering me, first time backing with this launch. And if so, so that tells me, like, if you're not launching on a platform like Kickstarter, which can be, it is both a audience maximizer. It will maximize and help you amplify and maximize whatever audience that you do have, but it will also be an audience builder. Most of the creators that I've worked with over the years, one of the biggest, the like, when you see their email newsletters increase, it's usually the 2.5, 3 weeks like clockwork after their Kickstarter campaign is over, because we encourage them to put the "Would you like to sign up for my VIP newsletter?" Just as a part of the survey when they're when you're getting their shipping information. Usually it's anywhere from 70 to 80% people are like, "Yeah, sure, add me," and then boom, here's a big chunk of the best kind of people that you can add to your email list, because they're not bots, they're real human beings, and they spend money online, and they like your stuff enough to actually join it. So, like, not only is Kickstarter a way to amplify the audience that you have, it's to pick up more of the best kind of audience that you can add to your subscribers list. So I would definitely, if you already, like, June is right around the corner. My Comixlaunch planner is kind of built around a 90-day cycle. Like, I usually say, hey, a month to plan, a month to build all the assets and get things primed, and then a month to launch. And that is kind of how the planner would work. So I would say, if where are we? Beginning of May. So a June Kickstarter launch would be pushing it, especially if it was your first one. But I would definitely incorporate a Kickstarter launch at some point in the process to potentially get fans of your work to go and then buy that, like, a bookshelf version of it, and then also to pick up some new ones that if not for the Kickstarter, would never discover you.
Yeah, I guess I will take the devil's advocate side
Yeah.
then, which is like, if there was a retailer and you were going wide, and there was a retailer that you could say, "Hey, I could make $300 on this retailer, or $3 on this retailer," like, would you would you do that retailer too? Because if you would do that retailer too, then, like, Kickstarter can be many things. Most of my Kickstarters these days are the exact book that's going to be on in retailers, just um just like they get it earlier. Or for this new campaign, I did a workbook that I'm only doing when you buy direct from me. So, like, probably you're not going to make a lot of money. But, like, I don't know, like, do you need to make a lot of money? Like, could you do like could you, like, if you look at my campaigns, they're basically like the blurb, and then, like, why you should buy it, and you can write that very simple thing very quickly. You don't I think that if you would go in expecting to make more than $500, $300, depending on how big your audience is, I would say, like, that would be folly. But, like, if you're treating it as if it was another retailer, that, like, you just can be like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm going to put, like, a $200 goal. I'm going to, like, put my book on it. I'm going to, like, say it's nice. I'm going to, like, I don't know, maybe put together a little, like, package that for people, if they want to, like, upgrade, like a pin or I don't know, some stickers, or I don't know, and, like, see how it goes. I actually think that a lot of people could do more with running, like, very down and dirty campaigns, because then they'd be like, oh, I have data. So many people are like, oh, I don't have, like, what am I going to do? I need it to be perfect. And it's like, well, if you have less than a month, it's not going to be perfect. Like, but you will have data. Even if you, and I have, we've worked with people that release it on Kickstarter the same day as it releases in retailers. And, like, I don't think that's a great idea. because like why would you pay for it if like you could get it now? But if you, let's say, run it in the next 2 weeks and you run it for 2 weeks and it stops before the book comes out and you can deliver it at the same time as the book and people can get something special, like, sure. Do I think it's a great idea? I don't think it's a great idea. I can't, but like, I do think that most people in the publishing space, they hold launches as this like idealistic thing that just like it has to be perfect. Like if I have to have all of my images, I have to have all of these things when like probably most people would do better to just like have lower expectations and launch the thing and then have data. Maybe you fail. I don't know. That's still
Yeah.
data. Like data's not good or bad. It just exists.
Yeah. I mean, I, I feel and I recognize and I see the perfectionism, like in people that feel like the launch has got to be perfect. I have a 7-year-old who very much, the things he's confident in and he knows he's going to do a good job at, he loves to do. But if there's even like a hint of, I might not be so good at this, Dad, so I don't even want to try. Like, so I recognize that. I'm sure he gets some of that from me. But, and things like the planner that I make, it's so I can kind of foolproof myself or have the checklists to run through to make sure that I'm not forgetting something super important. But man, like between the Kickstarters and the backer kits afterwards, like I've got about $1.5 million in imperfect launches under my belt. And, I've been teaching this stuff for forever. I'm still launching and making mistakes and forgetting this and that. Never goes perfect. Never is never the 100% ideal that you could do. You always leave money on the table when you're in a launch, but compared to not launching or another 2 week delay after 2 week delay after 2 week delay and never actually pulling that trigger, you never you never elevate your game. And so like getting started is one of the best things that you can do. And there's a creator that I shout out a lot, for doing great work, but also for just illustrating that where you start on a platform like Kickstarter has no real bearing on where you end up. Curtis Clowe's first Kickstarter launch, I think he launched it. It was basically for a print that was sort of evocative of the kinds of comic book stories he wanted to tell. Really nice image, but it was a single print, and I think he was trying to raise $100 and got like 12 backers. Fast forward 3 years, and his Beastland series is doing like $50,000 launches. So where you start, but this was an opportunity for him with a very low stakes to get over that fear of launching, sort of learn the ropes, get comfortable with it. And I say Kickstarter is a platform that you want to start building equity in as soon as possible, because like Kickstarter has so many ways that once you've built a little bit of a following on that platform, it's really good at reminding the people that have supported you in the past that you've got something new going. It's one thing to be able to message all of your Substack followers, and I will do that copiously throughout my launches. But it's really nice when you can launch and the Kickstarter platform is popping notifications on people's Kickstarter apps and is sending out messages on your behalf and is sending out reminders, 2 days before, 8 hours before your campaign is going to be over, and then right when you launch. That stuff, it's very powerful, and you'll see that a big chunk of your funding will come from Kickstarter, the efforts that Kickstarter does on your behalf.
Yeah,
So
I
so
mean,
yeah,
I think that also if you have a launch in June, like Kickstarter is additive now. It's a thing you are not going to get any money from currently.
yeah,
So like it can only, and I think we have a habit when like people like of stalling until it's perfect, but then like there are expectations.
yeah.
Like you're gonna you like if you spend 3 months to a year building a Kickstarter campaign, like you're gonna expect to make more than $5 on it. Like you're going to want an ROI on that thing. Whereas like sometimes just being like, well, I don't know, like I might make $7, I might make $700, but like it'll be there. And like I just can't overvalue the importance of data. I read this great book a couple of days ago. It's called Look Over or Look Again. It was about habitation and dishabitation and how you can train yourself to habituation. Sorry. Uh, it's about how like people acclimate to their conditions like very easily, and how the way to like combat that is to do things that are discomfortable. And
Mm.
like your life is kind of about like keeping this balance between like the things you are comfortable with and like the things you are discomfortable with, and like that's where like happiness lives.
Yeah.
But the thing is like you will never habituate to a thing you don't do. And so it doesn't do it like if you sit with a migraine for like a week, you will habituate to it. Like if you sit with like on a pile of gold and get everything you want, you will habituate to it. If you become the kind of person who launches things, like you're closer to being the kind of person who just like does it. And I remember when I started working with Monica, she was like, "How do you do this every time?" And I'm like, "I don't understand. Like, this is just the thing you do."
Yeah.
Like,
What else
I'm
would I
just
be
the kind of,
doing?
right. It's like, I'm the kind of person who does this thing. So, like, this is the thing that you do. And, like, would it be great? Like, if I could go back and you can just say, Russell, you could have a career where you could make $1 million just touching an easy button. Like, sure. Would I take that? I would take it. I would take it. Like, I'm not too proud to admit that I would take it. But, like, like that just is not the career that anyone has. Like nobody has that career. Even like Stephen King doesn't have that career.
Right. Yeah.
Like
He's
maybe
his easy
now,
but
like
his easy button is what, like 1 million words a day? Ridiculous.
right, exactly. So like it's it's like pick your heart, right? And like
Yeah.
if you're having success on Substack, you probably will have a pretty successful Kickstarter
Yeah.
because like people want to support you. Like people don't understand this, I don't think, but like if you just take the posts that you have and coalesce them together, collate them, edit them, like people will buy it because they want the totem. People want, if people enjoyed it in pieces, if people liked the serialization of a book, they will buy the trade. And I
Right.
know that because like this is how comics works. They buy you release issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5 and 6 if there is one, and then you do the trade. And the people that buy the trade are the people who bought the issues because they want the trade and they want the hardcover deluxe omnibus. They want all of those things. So like people think when people buy one way, they just won't buy the other way. But like that is just like not humanity. Like if you like something and you see a new version of it, you probably are buying it. That's how Oreos has 50 different options now.
Exactly. The books that I have sold the most of also just so happen to be the books that I have given away the most copies of for free in exchange for hopping on my email list. So I think we're probably about 100,000 people that have downloaded the C is for Cthulhu book for free over the over the course of since we've been doing it for about 10 years. And but it still is a book that sells every single day. We're on our sixth or seventh printing. Uh, Sometimes like opportunities, come knocking where we've got it now in 4 or 5 other foreign languages with publisher deals. And so yeah, like the ability to, and we did a 10th anniversary edition. So the ability to do what the old wannabe press motto was: make it once, sell it forever. Um, that not every product is going to lend itself to that and having as long a tail, but platforms like Kickstarter give you the opportunity to make money off of projects that were done years ago. We're seeing this right now today, and we saw it last year, and they just ran the same playbook. Is the folks over at Skybound who acquired the licenses for GI Joe and Transformers? Expensive licenses to acquire. IDW let them lapse. But what Skybound recognized is, hey, even though we are, the top imprint under Image, and we've got the biggest IP juggernaut to emerge in the last 25 years from scratch in The Walking Dead, they recognize that the best thing that they could do with their IPs is to launch and relaunch and repackage that ultimate giant omnibus collections of 25, 30-year-old comics that they now have the ability to reprint. They've launched that on Kickstarter, and it's like 2 years in a row, like they're going to be 1 and 2 in terms of most funded projects of all time for stuff that was created years ago, right? So
Yeah.
if the movers and shakers are applying that, there's no reason we shouldn't be taking advantage of it as well. I'd love to, just for people that are commenting, and I'll be able to come back through and check this, but I just love to hear where people are at. Like, are we like how many people have launched or how many people haven't launched? Just like see like a 1 if you've launched a project on Kickstarter before, or a 0 if you've never launched a project on Kickstarter before. I'm curious because like when I started the Comixlaunch, like 7 out of 10 people in my audience had never even like, or I think it was actually closer to like 8 out of 10 hadn't launched a project. I think by now it's definitely the people that have launched probably outweigh the first timers, but I know in the publishing is still kind of growing, and it's still I feel like a lot of the advocacy work that you've done has sort of shifted publishing closer to where comics was when it really started taking off. But I imagine, and I would say comics, there hasn't been that same sort of prejudice against self-publishing in the comics world as in the prose and publishing world. And I'm not sure if you've seen that, but like in comics, like hell, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a couple guys slinging their book at a shop at what used to be Jetpack, or what became Jetpack Comics, at a convention, not far from here, and grew into something big. So that we've always had in our sort of mythologies and our heroes like the indie slingers of stuff, whereas I think it's only somewhat recently that the publishing world, the prose and novelizations realize, oh, you can do really good stuff without the powerhouse publishers behind you.
Yeah, it seems like about half of people that I didn't. I had to scroll real far past where I was because I did not realize there were so many things that we hadn't discussed. But it seems like half the people are 1s, half the people are 0s.
Yeah.
And I think I'm actually surprised. I mean, granted, I recognize the people who did 1s.
Yeah, I see Madeline.
That did 0s. But like, I'm actually surprised it's that high because like for as long as I've been on Substack, there's been like a traditional publishing bias,
yeah,
and then also a newsletter like funding bias where like that they're like I make my money, I'm building a newsletter to like monetize. And I was just like I'm so glad that people have that option now because like I would been doing this like 10 years of like building an email list hardcore and just like building money, like building a list and then monetizing the actual list on nothing but like the content that was in that newsletter is like not a thing that like was common for publishers. There's a common for like newspapers to do, like journalists, but like not like a novelist going through. Even when like you were putting PayPal buttons on Webtoon, it's like that was like the third or fourth funding option that you just like kind of hoped worked. So
yeah, and it's like it's a weird world right now because like I mean I know there are like literal mega influencers in different like politics spaces or the things like they get online, they're on TikTok and they're just like living off these donations. But it's like the number of people that I think can can actually just get by with sort of loosey goosey models like that. It requires such a massive audience that it's, it's very hard to do. And even like in the comics world, like I'm old enough that I subscribed to a couple of Marvel comics back in the day that would literally, they'd mail them to my house in these loose plastic bags, and they would always get like destroyed by the mailman as he's shoving them through the mail slot. But even that was just a tiny percent of the core business
Yeah,
of
but that
different
was
publishers.
still
But
like a product. Like you still
yeah,
subscribed to a
right.
product. And I think like this is a big this is like where I think like Kickstarter could fit in really well with subscriptions because like the two things that you sell are products and services, right?
Mm,
Like it's pretty clear that coaching is a service
yeah,
and a book is a product, but like which is a subscription? Like, is it a product? Is it a service? Is it both? Is it neither? Is it this like it's very hard to be like, okay, if I book a coaching call with you, like I will get a coaching call. If I book like you to build my Substack for me, I will get a Substack at the end of this. If I buy this book, I will learn a thing or be entertained in a thing. But like if I subscribe to your Substack, you're not you're like kind of serving me, you're kind of giving me a product, but like really I'm just like along for the ride of like your vibes because I like your vibes,
right.
as opposed to like if you are really kill like as for the author stack, like if you want more content about Kickstarter, like you have to wait until like I write about Kickstarter again, which like that happens probably recent. Like again, I will do one post this year about Kickstarter, but like you can go back. But meanwhile, like you could go and search my archives for a bunch of stuff about Kickstarter. You could like find all of these books that have things. You can like read fiction about if you want to like read the whole of the Godsverse Chronicles, like you can do that by like going and reading the books, but like a subscription like doesn't like it's like I don't want to say it's nothing because it's not nothing, but it's like this very weird amorphous like you have a subscription to your doctor to like healthcare and like you just like kind of hope you don't need it. So
Yeah,
like
I hope we're not. I hope you don't see a massive drop in subs after this one, Russell, or everybody's like, yeah, man, subscriptions problems. But like you are right, and this is why I think having multiple ways that you can provide services to you and options for your audience is key. But like subscriptions, that they also do require work, and because a lot of them are sort of time bound, some guilt can come along with them. It's like, all right, I'm subscribed to Russell's thing, but crap, I'm like six. He's you know I know he's good for like bangers of articles, but now they're piling up, right? And more keeps coming and more keeps coming, and to a certain extent, sometimes that happens for creators that or people that back a lot of Kickstarters, right? I Most creators I know also support a lot of Kickstarters, and they've got like their to read pile of past Kickstarters that they are books they haven't got to read around to it. I'm sure most people have, shelves full of books that like are someday books, but there's not that sense of like, all right, this is this ongoing thing that I'm paying for, that I'm a part of. Like there's some guilt that might come around with not using it or maximizing it. It's one of the reasons with Comixlaunch Pro, the coaching community that has courses and ongoing sort of group coaching and private communities and things, primarily for comic creator crowdfunders. But I've been doing that since about 2016, and there was a season there where it was a monthly membership, kind of like your Netflix subscription. But I went away from that because I found that there were people canceling just simply because they're like, oh, I feel like I'm not quite ready, or I'm not getting enough use out of this thing. And I'm just like, you know what? A lot of times life comes up, and so it's like instead I sort of moved to like, all right, it's a one time investment. You sign up and then you have it. And I've gotten some messages from people that enrolled 2 years ago. They're like, Tyler, I thought I thought 2022 was going to be my year, and then X, Y, and Z happened. But it's like I've got this. I'm going through it, and I'm launching in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, all right, great, you're here for that. But then on the flip side, the nice thing about the membership model is it provides something that a lot of creators don't have, which is predictable monthly revenue. And
Right.
if you are only a launch based business, if you ain't launching, you ain't making money. So this is where having multiple streams, and we talked about different platforms. Like Amazon is a big platform for my publishing company as well. And there have been some years where we do $200,000 worth of sales over at Amazon. The difference between Amazon and Kickstarter is if you do $200,000 in sales on Amazon, after everything's all set, take it, you're lucky if 50,000, if 100,000 of that hits your bank account. Kickstarter, on the other hand, 90% of what you raise is usually what you're going to see on the back end. And then there's some tips and some tricks and some strategies, and hopefully their new pledge manager that they just rolled out is going to be a bit of a game changer as well, where you can then make an additional 10 to 20% on the back of that as well. So having different options to and different platforms, and having platforms like Kickstarter where the vast majority of the funds raised end up at least back into your bank account at first, and then of course you're going to go and pay for things and to keep everything rolling. But that's a far cry from working with publishers where you're going to be paid down the line. Or even platforms like Amazon that reach a mass audience, but are going to control what you can sell, how you can sell it, how you can present it to an audience, and then also take a pretty significant chunk out of it.
For sure. All right, we're wrapping up here, but I want to just say Phil says they don't have a comics career without Tyler. John
Phil,
says thanks,
shout out to
Russell
Phil.
and Tyler. We'll be in touch on the Kickstarter stuff. Someone said Mr. Fish says I didn't realize that it was no longer a monthly subscription. Need to hop on Comixlaunch now. I think.
Well, you can jump on that through the Kickstarter campaign. There is a pledge to join Comixlaunch Pro, but the another big thing about this is for doing things like the courses that have ongoing tech fees and all sorts of stuff to support, and then ongoing coaching and all of that stuff. Like it's an investment. It's a big chunk of change. It's the kind of thing where I understand that you get in what you put, or you get out what you put in a lot of ways. But this is my opportunity to finally put out something that, hey, it's for another couple of days, it will be $27, and it'll jump up to $29. But the best of what I use for each and every launch that I do is going to be contained in this planner, and so I'm hoping people check that out. I will also say, if you put in the comments. If you back the campaign and put in the comments, Russell sent me, I will include for you a training that you did with me a while back that I think is just great about strategic anthologies and strategic anthologies launching specifically on Kickstarter. I'll include that as a little bonus training if you just leave a comment. Russell sent me, and if you've already backed, you can say Russell sent me as well, and I will make sure that you get that training as well as a little sneaky extra reward for
Love
it.
it.
But
all right, one final way to I have a book also, by the way. It's called How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia. That's on Kickstarter. It's right here. It's pink. It's very nice. You could get that, the workbook on Kickstarter, and then back Tyler's book, or back Tyler's book and then back my book. But one last time to where we can find the book, Tyler. And then if you have any final thoughts, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, comixlaunch.com/planner. And I guess the main final thought that I would have is, and this was my tip of the day, is just get out of your comfort zone. So if the idea that Kickstarter seems scary, or the prospect of all or nothing funding and the potential that it could fail and be a public failure is something that is preventing you from launching or cause you to dismiss it. I want you to flip that. The people that most of us look up to are people that do the scary hard thing, are people that get outside of their comfort zone, and in some cases are people that tried and failed and then tried again. We saw Rob was on here, Boltari. His first Kickstarter launch failed. He learned from it. He got some more training, got some more lessons, put some more skin in the game, came back again, and he's been on a tear and been funding everything and really built a big following on the Kickstarter platform, such that he's relatively confident when he goes to launch something that he knows what it's going to do and that he can do more of it. So if Kickstarter is scary to you, if the idea is still a little bit scary, that should be a sign that's telling you that it's something you should do.
Awesome. I love it. And you can also just go to Kickstarter.com and look for Comixlaunch, Comix launch is one word.
Yep.
Probably if you put in planner, it'll show up too, or Comics Planner, or Kickstarter Planner, or something. But like, if you don't want to go to the link, you can just type in probably capitalist dystopia, and mine will come up. I will say that like I think that Kickstarter is an essential part of like a creator toolkit. It is every bit as important as Substack and like website sales and retailer sales and convention sales, especially when you're like doing like there are just so many ways to like take a bite of the apple. And like especially when you're starting out, but like at any point of your career, like the more ways you can take a bite of that apple, like the better. The more ways you can like bring people into your ecosystem, the more ways you can on-ramp people, the more different modalities you can offer, the more different books you can offer throughout a year, like the more chances you give someone to say yes. Yes, you also give them more reasons to say no, but like the more chances you had to be like, oh, I didn't know Comixlaunch Pro wasn't a subscription anymore. I'm going to go and back it now. Or like, oh, you know, I'm not willing to like give X person $100 a year, but like I want to learn more about like I like this one aspect, and so like of course I'm going to buy it. Or I don't want to follow this creator at all, but like I will buy everything that they put out in book form or pin form, or like I have a subscription and like Kat Kalamia and Phil Falco who do like these pins, and they have built like a really nice business doing pins and comics and like their own camp. There's just like an infinite number of ways that you can like make money doing this work. And like one of them is Kickstarter. And you could theoretically, like I did for years, live on just Kickstarter alone.
Yeah.
But like, if you can live on Kickstarter, you probably can also add these other things. And like, it's way easier to make a little bit of money on all of these platforms that adds up to be significant than to like try and go all in on any one platform, because it's just really like, it's really hard to get traction doing this. And if you're going to do something else, you should do something launch based, which is why I love Kickstarter. Because it's like, well, you can only do 60 days. You literally can't go more than 60 days. So like at the worst case scenario, like in 60 days after you launch, it will be done. And if you do like a 2-week campaign, like at least you're testing something. And if you hate it, like it's not like Substack where you're just like, well, now I have to like inch back from it, pull back my paper. It was just like, well, I'm never launching one of those again. Oh, I canceled that one. Like, why did you like? It's just like so easy to like slide into this other way of direct sales, and that direct sales opens you up really to conventions and website sales and all of the rest. So, I would say, go get the Comixlaunch Planner. Go get my book, How to Thrive as a Writer in a Capitalist Dystopia, and we will talk to you next time, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Russell.